Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Hi-Fi in the Low Light. Tonight I'm once again excited as always to talk about the new DAC amp combo from Burson. The unit is called the Play. What sets it apart is that it is modular. You can change the op amps and tailor the sound to your preference. Now, the Play is fairly lightweight, it is not too big, and it has two configurations. I've got the rubber feet on the bottom, which means that I can set it on my desk, but you can also mount it into your PC. That's what sets it apart. You can mount it into your desktop computer into one of the internal slots, same place that you would put an optical drive. Now it also has a mic input. So what makes the Play unique is that you can mount it in your PC, it can work both on your desk and in a computer, and you've got an analog input. Pretty cool, especially if you're a gamer or if you produce a lot of videos like I do and use an analog input often. There are three configurations that I tested. The basic model is $299, that is with their NE55 number op amps. I also tested it with the Vivid op amps from Burson and then their V6 Classic op amps. Now, the V6 Vivid and V6 Classic op amp configurations are $550, so I wanted to test it at an entry-level model as well as the top of the line. They do have some intermediate option as well that I did not get a chance to test. Now, the analog inputs are well. The 6.5mm jack works well, no play, no wiggle. And my RCA jacks in the back work well. Now, the point of worry, the point of concern for me with this unit is the power and the digital input. Now, the digital input has some play. It actually has a lot of play. Now, this is a demo unit, so it has been through a number of people's hands. It has been unplugged and plugged in a number of times, which isn't something that you're going to do. But the problem is that the power cord has the same. Now, people who watch my videos will know that I don't like play. Play in any kind of connector or point of connection means wear and tear. If there's room to wiggle, something's going to break. In this case, I did have a failure. I did have a set of op amps that died on me while in the amp, and this play in the power cord did lead to some power cycling. If I brushed against it just the wrong way, it would reset. So this is a product that sounds phenomenal. Let me start by saying that it sounds absolutely phenomenal, but the build quality could be better. Now, Burson does back this with their 5-year guarantee, and whenever I had an issue, their staff was easy to communicate and quick to respond. But I highly recommend that you purchase this unit new. Do not buy this secondhand. This is something that you're going to want to purchase new so that you have that guarantee, that warranty, and that you have a brand new out-of-the-box unit. As this unit traveled across the tour, it did not handle travel well. It did not age well as it passed through many hands. So again, buy this one new. Now, in terms of function, when it power cycled, the USB would no longer work. I had to unplug it, turn it off, plug it back in. Otherwise, the drivers were quite easy to use. They were easy to install. They were easy to find. I had both direct sound and ASIO support, and they worked well. Moving on to the sound quality, starting just with the DAC, it is excellent. Absolutely excellent. This was by far the cleanest, the blackest USB implementation I have heard to date. I want to let that sink in. It is the blackest USB that I have heard to date. Now, you guys know that I despise USB. I use coaxial as much as possible. I even have a secondary coaxial unit so that I can use it straight from my laptop and not just my desktop. Now, moving on to the DAC and how it compares to other options, I did take the time to compare my JDS Labs LDAC to the Burson Play. Now, to keep the comparison fair, I fed both of them into my Shit Valley Generation 1, and I listened with my HD800. What I found sound-wise is the LDAC did present some intimacy that I hadn't noticed before, but it also had, again, a more natural sound, a better focus on micro dynamics and a better focus on micro detail. It was a little more resolving, but it wasn't as black. It was just a little bit noisier than the Burson Play. The Play, on the other hand, operating as just a DAC, was blacker. It was quieter. It fed a quieter signal into the Valley 1. Now, the sound was a bit more spacious. It was more open. There was just a smidge more precision, but there was also a smidge less micro resolve and micro dynamics. So there was a sort of excitement or energy present. It was a big, open, vast soundstage. It was quite precise and quite energetic, but it lacked a little bit of resolve compared to the LDAC. Now, moving on, the next comparison that I did was with the Play with its basic op amps, and I compared that to the JDS Labs LDAC and Valley Gen 1. Now, the fatal flaw in this comparison is that the Valley is not sufficient for planar magnetic headphones. It just doesn't have the power. So again, I used my HD800 as a dynamic that sits at 300 ohms. It is a fairly common load and different. They were more different than they were better or worse. Again, with the very spacious, very big, open sound of the HD800, I liked it a little bit better from the JDS Labs LDAC with the Valley 1. On the other hand, with that same basic op amp in the Burson Play, while the sound was a little bit bigger, a little bit more exciting, there wasn't as much resolve, but it was still very good. Those basic op amps are very good. They're very good. There are no glaring falls. They're neither warm nor cold. They're quite balanced. This is a easy to listen to signature that has a good bit of resolve. So this being an all-in-one unit, this is going to be, of course, an upgrade if you have a digital audio player and also a unit that you can build upon. You start with the basic. You will notice improvements if you go up to the higher op amps, but you also have a phenomenally clean line out to feed into a tube amp. Now, what I found is the solid-state amp was not as nice with my dynamic headphones. The equally priced JDS Labs LDAC and Ship Valley 1 was better with dynamics. But I also took a chance to listen to my Odyssey LCD2. This is a planar magnetic. From the Valley, it is icky. It's not good. From the Burson Play, however, there was again a good balanced sound. It sounded good. The resolve was there. There was a nice spacious sound which kind of helped open up that intimate headphone. So what the Play does is it gives you a level playing field. It gives you a wide range of equipment that you can use. That is what a good all-in-one should do, in my opinion. The line out will let you hook up to a tube if you want to have something tailored specifically to a set of dynamics, or you can simply use the basic op amps and it will cover all of your headphones equally well. So let's talk about the upgrade. When you switched over to those nicer op amps, what was the improvement? The Burson Play is a Class A amplifier. It does operate in Class A, and it did have that kind of warmth and naturalness that I like about a Class A amp. And the classic op amps sounded phenomenal. They imparted just a little bit of warmth, a little bit of magic emphasis on the decay that I liked. In fact, with my HD800 and my LCD2, there was an added creaminess that was really quite beautiful. So you've got an all-in-one solid state that's at 300. You can then upgrade to a nicer, very natural, warm-sounding set of op amps. The classic configuration was a step above the LDAC with the Ship Valley 1. It wasn't quite as warm, there wasn't quite as much of the emphasis on the decay or some of that tube magic, but the resolve was better. The balance was better. So again, the Play with those classic V6 classic op amps is a phenomenal all-in-one. It covers a variety of headphones well, both dynamics and planar magnetics. It has great power for both. Switching over to the Vivid op amps, I found that they were better suited for a drier sound and they pair nicely with a darker headphone. My HD800 had a little bit too much tactility and was a little bit too dry with the Vivids, but my LCD2 sounded phenomenal. It opened up even more and still had its warm, kind of intimate sound. So then the question is, you know, I've got the basic model. It's $299. Which one do I go with? The question is going to depend on what you want to do. If you want a phenomenal all-around, You want an all-around amplifier. I would get the classic op amps, as they give it what I think is the best timbre, the best mix of both resolve and spaciousness. If you do want to get a tube amp and feed out of the pre, then I would go with the Vivids. The Vivids are going to pair very well with some of the darker, thicker sounding planar magnetics, giving you that clean line out for a tube to power your dynamic headphones. Now, I also did compare it to my higher end balanced systems. My NFB10 ES2. Single end, the NFB10 ES2 was a joke. It is not a product I recommend listening unless you're doing balanced. So the Burson Play with either the basic, the Vivid, or the classic op amps has a better single-ended presentation. Now, the NFB10 ES2, when you run it in balanced mode, it does overtake the Burson Play. When you use that balanced output, that end-to-end balanced output, there is a better quality of sound. But again, there's an added cost to going the balanced route. What makes the Play so advantageous, so great, is that it is just single end. You can upgrade the op amps to get a better sound. You've got a clean line out. Everything is simple. You don't have to dive into the madness that is going balanced. Now again, I compared the Burson Play with the basic op amps to the single end output of my Geek Out V2 Plus. It was the same. The Geek Out V2 Plus was not quite as good as the Play, even with the basic op amps. The Play had both more power and just a better, more balanced sound. Now once again, when you went balanced out of the Geek Out V2, the playing field was a little bit more leveled. The Burson Play Vivid and the Geek Out V2 Plus balanced with the green filter do sound quite a bit alike. Now the Geek Out V2 had a little bit more resolve in the mid-range, but it was not as precise. Going to the Vivids, the Vivid was again a little bit more spacious, a little bit better positioned, but not as resolving in the mid-range. So again, the two traded blows more or less, but this was a balanced system compared to a single end. Again, I'm always going to be in favor of single end because it's simple. Unless you have balanced headphones, I don't like to recommend balanced products. Now, if you have balanced headphones, absolutely the Geek Out V2 would be the way to go for portable and any of Audio GD's balanced amps if you're at home. But most of you may not. For a good single-ended system in a box, I like the Burson Play. I think that even with the basic op amps, it's competitive. When you upgrade to those classic and Vivid op amps, you have the chance to tailor your sound, and it remains competitive. So all in all, guys, I want to thank you for watching the video. If you'd like a little bit more detail as far as the comparisons go, check out my blog post coming in the future. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And finally, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank Burson for allowing me the chance to review this product. And guys, please like and subscribe. I appreciate your support. And have an awesome night.